Hi, everybody. I'm Rob Hernandez, and I'm here with my colleague, Lauren McCluskey. We are both senior qualitative researchers at Magid, and we are here to talk a little bit about online qualitative research today and really how, things have changed so dramatically since the pandemic with us having to lean into qualitative. And I know what you're probably thinking, gosh, we've heard so much about how COVID has impacted research, particularly qualitative research. And we have heard a lot about the benefits of online qualitative, like making people comfortable, like making them feel safe and promoting good health practices, and obviously the benefit of being able to pull from more geographic locations. It really opens up the geographies. There are no borders anymore, so you can get to representation that you couldn't get to before, and those are all true things. But today, we wanted to focus on some things that might be a little less talked about, that are no less significant in terms of the benefits and advantages of online qualitative. And for that, I'm going to let Lauren kind of kick us off, because she presented on this topic recently at a trade show for Quarks in Chicago. So Lauren, talk to us a little bit about some of the key themes that you uncovered.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. There's no question that the pandemic has dramatically affected how I approach any qualitative project that we design, and things really do look different. So I feel like it kind of breaks out into four separate themes. The first idea and trend that I've been seeing is this notion of mixed method madness, meaning it's very rare these days for a qualitative project to be pure, as in we're just going to do some focus groups. Instead, very often, whatever that project might be, it is usually followed up. It's either a hybrid method, or there's a precursor. We're going to do some journaling or some homework or some follow-up, and whatever it is, it's very rare that we're just taking this is how we're going to do it, and it's a one-off. Instead, really, it's just this idea of mixed methods, and what are the tools in our toolbox, and how do we want to blend and merge for that optimal result. Another is what I would also refer to as iterative bite-sized bursts. And by that, I mean clients who have appetite for really kind of dipping in and tackling almost like micro or mini objectives, rather than going big and getting it all done in 1 or 2 days in 1 or 2 markets. We're able to, of course, be remote and go national and tackle it with week 1. We're going to do this. We're going to look at exploring the prototype and what people think of the actual product. Week 2, we might do names and claims. Week 3, we might do packaging. Week 4, product didn't do so well, so maybe we need to revisit the prototype. But it's this idea of being able to dip in and out with much greater ease. And I think the biggest thing for me is the surprise of remote, and that sort of stereotype as remote just isn't as intimate. We're far apart, and we're just separated by all these screens. And there's just, in fact, I would argue that the interactions that we've had have been extraordinarily intimate. And it's been amazing to just witness just how real we're able to get with people in their environments, in their natural environments, and just kind of watching what unfolds. There's a lot of spontaneous and accidental, I use the term accidental ethnographies, when we just kind of like, oh, absolutely, go grab it from the pantry. And, there's a lot of just surprise and delight that happens when we're really able to be with people in their environment, and it just feels more real and more human and more whole, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've been smiling as you've been talking about that, because it's so true. And I was thinking back to some of the experiences that I have had on projects that I've run, where I was talking to a gentleman for a project a few months back, and his bird, came out of nowhere and landed on his shoulder, and then a couple of other pets kind of surrounded him. He had this sort of menagerie, and while that wasn't directly on point to the project, it does provide these moments, as you say, these surprise moments that give us context around what it is that the consumer and these people are dealing with, right? And there are many other examples of that. But I mean, as you say, it is one of those things where we've turned conventional wisdom on its head, where you would think that online actually reduces intimacy. But in many cases, it's actually increased intimacy, and it's increased our ability to gain context. And there is a quasi-ethnographic lens that it brings to the table, which I think is really a cool and very advantageous thing.
Yeah, I think we have quite a few clients who are actually feeling more satisfaction and benefit from the virtual backroom than they did or do the real backroom. So it is pretty fascinating. Rob, I guess, sometimes I ask myself, like, where do we stand? How do we feel about what we are advocating for internally in terms of being in person or remote? I don't know about you, but I personally, toward the end of 2021, given the choice, I tend to really lean to want to stay remote unless the client objectives really warrant it. And there are those handful of cases where you just sort of surrender and say, absolutely, we can and should be in person for this, and I'm ready. I'm ready to hop on that plane or go where we need to be. But if given the choice, I feel like there still is just so much more. There's all these pluses to staying remote. How do you feel?
I completely agree. I mean, I think on balance, it's a positive. I mean, it's not perfect. There is no perfect, but I think based on some of the things that you've touched on, some of the things we know to be true about online qualitative, if you look at everything, the total picture, I think you get a lot more out of it than alternative methods or more traditional methods. And I agree with you. I'm inclined to kind of default to online as well.
Yeah. I was just going to say, there's one thing that I think has really been nice, because we're able to sort of tack on some of the tools that we've been experimenting with and have now done way more than just experiment. But what comes to mind is sort of the online shopping and the virtual shopping exercises that we're able to do, which feel extraordinarily real as well. And to be able to see some of that authentic surprise and delight when we watch our participants, our consumers kind of go through and shop and feel like they're actually in the store. And so to really just be able to lean on the tools that we've cultivated recently that have been quite successful.
Yeah, that's another excellent point. I agree. I mean, I think it's been interesting talking with you about this, and I'd be curious to hear what other people think. Those of you out there that have listened to our conversation, that are in the research world, in the qualitative world, agree, disagree. What are you finding out there in terms of benefit and even drawback to the online qualitative research experience? Please feel free to contact us on LinkedIn, or you can see our emails down below. We'd love to hear from you.